Good evening. Welcome back once again to Medford Community Cablevision's Front Page Live. Our guests tonight are special. They've been with us before. I hope you enjoyed them before, and I hope you'll enjoy them again this evening. They are Andrea Anastas, who's the founder and the president of N.A.P.S, North American Pediatric Pseudo-Obstruction Society, and the clerk of the organization, attorney Mark Rumley. Andrea, Mark,
Tony.
welcome back, both of you.
Thank you for having us.
You have one of the most interesting and exciting organizations now nationally. And it all started in Medford, Massachusetts, 5 years ago, in your kitchen.
Yes.
With the both of you. First question is, what is the North American Pseudo-Obstruction Society, Pediatric Pseudo-Obstruction Society?
You mean what the illness is?
What, yes.
Okay, well, North American Pediatric Pseudo-Obstruction Society stands for, obviously, N.A.P.S, but it also is the disease entity that these children are affected with, which is intestinal pseudo-obstruction, which is a very rare gastrointestinal disease that disallows children to be able to eat and digest food normally, either by dysfunction of the nerves and or muscles of the GI tract. Many of these children are still able to manage by eating by mouth, and others require feeding tubes in order to provide nutrition, and some that are severely affected require intravenous feedings in order to maintain them nutritionally.
Andrea, your organization is worldwide, it's international.
It's international.
Mark, you remember 5 years ago when you started this organization, you're the clerk, you're the attorney, you're the secretary. You remember 5 years ago when you started this organization in Andrea's kitchen. And I asked you earlier, can you remember who was in that kitchen when you started?
Well, actually, it started on the basis of a phone call. I've been friends with Neil Anastas, Andrea's husband, for some time before I met Andrea. And Neil told me that his wife was going to give me a call, and she had some questions about corporations, in particular nonprofit corporations. So I said, sure, have her give me a call. So she called one night and invited me up to the house to meet with her and some other parents who were parents of children affected by this certain disorder, which I knew absolutely nothing about. So I thought it would just be, one night and that would be it. So I went up and very gracious as usual. There was coffee and pastry and all the rest, and we met and talked for the better portion of the evening and started the corporation. As I recall, obviously Andrea was there. There was Neil, your mother, Millie, Cynthia Sabag, who was a Medford resident and parent, Barbara Perry, who's a nurse, and a couple from the South Shore, the Simonellis, were also there. And so I gave them some advice, and from that it became, well, would you meet with us again? And then things started growing quickly.
Very quickly. Andrea, your son Adam is affected by
Yes.
this. And 5 years ago was a trying time for you and Adam, your whole family. And what possessed you to start an organization that mushroomed now nationally and internationally? Whatever possessed you to start something?
Well, I was desperate, for almost 3 years until Adam received a diagnosis in which we had to take him out to California, Los Angeles, to have particular testing done to actually tell us what was wrong with him, because that testing was not being done in any other part of the country. And we were floundering. He was very sick, and we had exhausted all possibilities. Numerous surgeries had been done, and he was just failing on us. And not that the diagnosis changed his course of treatment, but we had to know what was happening to our child, and to be able to deal with that, because we couldn't deal with it. I had a very hard time. If you saw me then and you see me now, there's a big difference, because I didn't know what was happening to my child, and so that very much affected our family. And so I remember being in California and saying to Dr. Hyman, if it is what you think that it is in terms of the diagnosis, then I'm going to go back home and I'm going to start an organization, because I don't want other parents to be in the same situation that I've been in for many years.
Now, what Andrea is saying, Mark, is that doctors, even in New England, with the best medical resources we have in New England, could not tell Andrea what was the matter with Adam.
And that's the experience that she had. What I have found out becoming involved over the years is that doctors have differing views on certain diagnoses and all the rest, but at the time she was directed towards California for her answers, and that's where she received them. What I was most impressed with in the part of it that I was involved in was the organization of parents that quickly came together. On my end of it, I see the physicians very rarely. It's the parents that I see. And the common denominator that they all had was that they were, in general, a bit confused and not sure about their children's condition. And that's why those parents that have become part of N.A.P.S have glued together very well and worked together in such a coordinated fashion.
Andrea, what this means is that, I think you explained it to me once, and if I understood you, a child cannot digest his food, and of course, the kid doesn't know why he can't digest the food, and the doctors can't tell. Now, why is that? In Adam's instance, for instance.
Well, in Adam, it's very variable. I mean, the disease or the disorder presents itself in a different fashion in every one of these children. Some of the children can be affected from, their esophagus all the way through.
In layman's terms now, because I'm...
being, your esophagus from where you swallow in the pipe that basically goes down to your stomach, and then you have the small intestine and the large intestine. Some children can be affected in one area and not another, or one area skip an area and then another area of the intestine being affected. In Adam's situation, I think it's more upper gastrointestinal, and it's very erratic, it's very cyclical. There's also a spectrum. Children with this disorder are not always going to be severely affected. There's mild, there's moderate, and there's severe. So you will see children that can manage by mouth and have the diagnosis. And I think sometimes that's a real dilemma for physicians to see that there are children that can manage on their own, and that's where I think that there's some confusion about it.
In the past and even today, there are children who die of malnutrition and still were not properly diagnosed. All right, Mark, you started the organization 5 years ago. What strides have you made in research? How effective is the organization?
Well, I'll have to defer on Andrea on the research questions. I can just say from a corporate point of view, the organization was started by Andrea, and at least on a legal and from a business point of view, it's thrived because of her efforts. There is one issue dealing with research that I can address because I had some part in it, the contractual part, which was a tissue freezer which N.A.P.S purchased through fundraising, which is now at the UCLA Medical Center in Torrance, California. Manufactured, by the way, by Fisher Scientific of Medford. And that is, the tissue freezer is used to keep samples in a frozen state so that doctors can use the samples for research, and that is tissue samples from children, which didn't exist before. It's like having a library of data that doctors can go and use, and that's something that didn't exist before N.A.P.S funded it and purchased it, and right now it's out at UCLA.
Andrea, there are not too many international organizations in Medford. I'm proud of that fact for you. I know you as my friend, and for the last 5 years, I think you're doing a great job. Out to the general public, family assistance. Your forte is other parents. Tell us about it.
Well, family assistance consists of a lot of things. Giving phone support to families, sending them information. One of the biggest things that we've been able to accomplish is securing funding from various corporate supporters and or large businesses that would help us to have funds available for family assistance. In other words, if a family is in Indiana and needs to take their child to California or to Boston or to a center where this testing can be done and a diagnosis can be made, and if they're financially burdened, which most families are, I mean they're just about drowning in medical bills, they will call us, and if they meet our criteria, if it is a financial hardship, what we try to do is secure funding for airline tickets for at least one parent and the child, or try to assist them with their hotel expenses, or if they're going to drive, car expenses. And we've worked with American Airlines, Miles for Kids. We have various home infusion therapy companies that have, decided to give us grants on a quarterly basis, should we need it for these families. So there's a lot of things that we do for family assistance.
Before that, before you give all this family assistance, parents call you. How do they know about you? Somebody in Oklahoma, how do they know about you?
If their physician is recognizing that this child could have a motility disorder and is trying to stay on top of things, oftentimes it will be the physician that will say, contact this family. I mean, this organization, and this is who you need to speak to, and they'll give you the information and support that you need. Another way is through the National Organization for Rare Disorders, NORD, which is basically a clearinghouse for organizations who deal with orphan diseases. Intestinal pseudoobstruction is an orphan disease, which means less than 200 or 250,000 are affected by it. And they will contact NORD and say, can you connect me with an organization or get information to me regarding this disease? And because we are an active member with them, that's another way that we get referrals, sometimes nurses, sometimes other parents. It's social workers or the medical institutions. We've really grown so much and become very well recognized that families don't have as much difficulty finding us at this stage as they did just a few short years ago.
Okay. They call you, they need assistance to be diagnosed, and how about treatment?
Treatment is a real tough one, Tony, because there really is no real treatment for these children. In terms of prognosis, there is no prognosis. We just kind of go day to day and month to month and year to year with it because there's some medication that's still considered experimental. It hasn't been approved yet, and that's the only real drug that's available right now, which is a motility agent. But in many cases, it has not been effective. They feel that there's also a sensory component to this disease, and some children are real sensitive to that, and so they're trying other drug therapy. Children who are really significantly involved and there are no other options for them, what they're looking at doing to try to save their lives is intestinal transplantation and doing a combination liver and bowel transplant together, because they find that in oftentimes is more successful.
Let me bring it back home and make it a little personal, if you don't mind. Your family, I don't think, is an exceptional family that they can face any crisis, and yet your family is the most natural family I've seen with a child with the same problems, with the same symptoms. Now, Adam has learned to live with it. His brother has learned to live with it, and brothers and sisters. You and Neil, your mother, and yet at one time in your life, 5 years ago, this was the worst crisis that you could ever think could happen to anybody.
That's right.
Your family has accepted. How do you help? How did your family accept it, and how do you help other families accept it?
Because once I received a diagnosis for Adam, and I was able to channel my frustration and my sorrow, more or less, or my grieving over having a child that was going to be this way, or be sick or chronically ill, I channeled it and said, I'm going to do something positive. I've got to put it behind me and go forward. And that's the thing I think that's been very beneficial for our family. I've had people and medical professionals all the time tell me that they feel that Adam is the most well-adjusted, chronically ill child that they come across, that they meet. And I try to share that with families, and I try to bring out the positive, that not every day is a good day, but if you can take that one piece that is good, that makes you feel good about your child, then that's going to carry you on. Try not to consume yourself with the hard parts. Try to look at the good parts.
Okay, Mark, let me pat you on the back for a minute, because I want to say that what Andrea has gone through on a personal aspect, I've seen you do it publicly with the school systems throughout Massachusetts and even here in Medford. And I have to commend the Medford Public Schools. They have accommodated to the very best of their ability Adam's problem. How did you do it, Mark? How did you convince schools across the city, across the state, and across the nation that they have to live with this and they have to help it?
Well, there's no work that I do with the school system in Medford, of course. There's all the work that I've done through N.A.P.S is on school systems outside of Medford and in other states. That I kind of just fell into with some telephone calls. Andrea asked me if I would speak to some parents a few years ago about some educational issues, and then I did a little bit of reading and some self-education, and then began to, from time to time, represent parents who were going through school systems and they needed some assistance in helping them have the school system put together an appropriate plan for their child. These children who are medically fragile need to have some special assistance during the course of a school day that they otherwise wouldn't need. And so parents who were faced with some school systems that were reluctant would come to me, and I became involved with educational issues. on a national level, I would speak to parents in other states, but advise them only about the federal law that I knew about. In Massachusetts, of course, I know about our own Chapter 766, and I would be able to give some advice along those lines, but in other states I would give advice on the federal law dealing with educational rights with children, and that just kind of built itself into a semi-specialty for me.
Okay.
So.
If in fact you did not get involved with the Medford school system, they must have heard about you, because even quite recently, the president of the Medford Teachers Association, in conjunction with the school administration, had set up, because they didn't have telephones in the school system, they set up even walkie-talkies, I believe, just to, and a nurse.
And a portable phone, and a portable
That was
phone
it.
also.
Okay.
And walkie-talkie.
Just to be sure that if Adam needed any assistance, it was there and it was immediate. And this has to, I have to give you credit anyway, Mark, because throughout the school systems in Massachusetts and across the nation, without that assistance, without that cooperation, I mean, these kids wouldn't be able to go to school and have a normal life. And once again,
Well,
Adam-
actually, it's a lot of fun to represent these kids because they're all great.
Amazing. Oh.
Yeah.
And I have on my office wall notes that they've sent me and pictures and all the rest, and it's a lot of fun.
Okay. With N.A.P.S being your priority now, this is your job. How has it affected your family life?
Sometimes good, sometimes bad, depending what's happening for functions or what's going on that takes me away for longer periods of time. But I really try to split myself so that I don't neglect anything or anybody, especially my family. But I think they're very proud, and I know that my children are very proud, and Adam feels like, gee, wow, Mom's doing something really good that's not only going to help me, but help a lot of other kids.
I know that your wife Susan is proud of you.
I hope so.
Yes, absolutely. And the things that you've done with this organization.
I'd be lost without him.
Yes.
Well, actually, Susan takes part somewhat, not to the extent that others do, but she certainly does enjoy her time with the organization.
Okay.
So.
We're going to interrupt just for a moment. We're going to have just a short break and show you some of the children involved in N.A.P.S.
Children
But
of
stay with
N.A.P.S.
us. Children of N.A.P.S.
N.A.P.S.
I wanna call the stars down from the sky. I wanna live a day that never dies. I wanna change the world only for you. All the impossible I won't do. I wanna hold you close under the rain. I wanna kiss your smile and feel the pain. I know what's beautiful looking at you. In a world of lies, you are the truth. And baby, every time you touch me, I become a hero. I'll make you safe no matter where you are, and bring you everything you ask for. Nothing is above me. I'm shining like a candle in the dark when you tell me that you love me. I wanna make you see just what I was, show you the loneliness and what it does. You walked into my life to stop my tears. Everything's easy now, I have you here. And baby, every time you touch me, I become a hero. I'll make you safe no matter where of me. I'm only one, but not alone. My finest day is yet unknown. I broke my heart for every gain, to taste the sweet. I face the pain. I rise and fall, yet through it all, this much remains. I want one moment in time.
Welcome back again. Sorry about the technical difficulties. If we can get that straightened out, we'll show it to you one more time. Andrea, you have a conference coming up, for an international conference in Atlanta, Georgia. What's it all about?
It's regarding pediatric gastrointestinal motility disorders in the 90s, the current information, clinical aspects, supportive management, and therapeutic care. And we are bringing in physicians or faculty from all over the United States, as well as Naples, Italy, London, England, and London, Ontario, Canada. I think there's 27 in all between moderators and guest speakers. It's a 3-day program with concurrent sessions and general lecture. And parents are coming in from all over the country as well to join us.
I'm impressed. This is the brochure
Yes,
for
that's the
It's
brochure.
going to be March 25th through the 27th. And I'm impressed. I'm looking at people, doctors from all over the
Everywhere.
world. All over the world, all over the country and all over the world. And it takes you a year to set this up.
That's right.
A year, okay. Down in Atlanta, Georgia.
It's jointly
get that?
sponsored by Emory University School of Medicine, Eggleston Children's Hospital, and Scottish Rite Children's Medical Center.
Excellent. And you're taking some people from Medford down with you?
Yes, we are. We're taking Medford's own Mark Rumley, and he's going to be giving a workshop, and my buddy Joe Fortunato, who does all of our AV work.
Joe Fortunato
yes,
from Medford
from
Community
Medford, that's
Cablevision?
right, and he's coming out, and he'll be doing all of our audio-visual.
He is the best. I wish you good luck
He's
in it.
wonderful.
It's this isn't your first one you've had.
No, this is actually our 5th. Our first 2 were held in Boston, and then
The first two were in, the first one was at Newton Wellesley,
and then
in a room not too much larger than this. Then I believe at the Marriott in Burlington was the second. And then it took off. Then the next was
California,
Loma
Palm
Linda,
Springs.
California, Palm Springs, Omaha, Nebraska.
The first one, Mark,
Yeah.
was a gamble.
Yes.
It was a
Tell us.
Well, actually, the first fundraiser was the biggest gamble, because on the first or second night that I met with Andrea and her friends, I wasn't really sure if they knew what they were getting themselves into. So they decided that they would rent and book the Marriott Long Wharf for a fundraiser. And I told Andrea and Neil, I said, if no one comes, you're out the down payment and all the rest. And they were putting up their own money. And I felt, there was a certain risk to it all, but they took it. And 250 people
Yes.
came that first night.
And it was a $100 per person, event, and the place was packed.
It was packed. And as far as the conferences go, now remember, this isn't a fundraiser, this is a conference of medical professionals. The first one was held in a room not much larger than the studio at the Newton Wellesley Hospital. And a physician came from California, and some Boston physicians were there. And then the next one was at the Marriott in Burlington, and many more physicians and health workers were there. And then it took off. Palm Springs, California, Omaha, Nebraska last year, which was a lot of fun and very interesting also. And this year, Atlanta.
Yeah.
You had mentioned fundraisers,
Yep.
and I noticed that Tom Convery has been going around town with these flyers, and this says the gigantic sports raffle.
Yes.
Now, this is really nice. I mean, some of the things you're giving away in this one is. Tell us a little bit about this. I don't want to step on your toes, so to speak.
There's over 60 sports items which have been collected. The person that's, I would say, very instrumental is Jimmy Bell, who is a postal worker at the Medford Post Office on Forest
That
Street.
friendly face when everybody
Yes.
goes down to mail a
And
letter.
everybody should, when they go in there, say hello to Jimmy Bell, because he's been wonderful and very supportive of N.A.P.S. He really, for the past year and a half, has been soliciting for, many of the items that were there. Also, Bob Morello was able to get, and if you look, you'll see now there's a photograph, and as you can see, there are so many items. Hockey sticks, there's a Larry Bird autographed baseball, a nylon jersey, and on it goes. And many of the autographed hockey items were donated or given to N.A.P.S by Bob Morello, who was able to get them autographed and donated. So Medford people have really been involved. And then Tom H. Convery has been active, and he is the chairperson of the committee that's doing this sports raffle. His father, Tom E. Convery, is very involved with Salem Street Business Association and getting the tickets going. John Pompeo, Vinnie Cincotti, Fran Giordano, and also Anthony Viveros. All of these people have really just kind of banded together to try to get this to be a real success.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you're selling raffle tickets for these 60 items, including the Larry Bird paraphernalia and the, well, that's even better now that he's retired.
And it's Larry, it's not L. Bird.
Okay, I don't know if you have a copy. There's 4 or 5 places if you want to mention where you can get the
Items?
tickets. Yeah.
Anthony's Sports Collection, which is on 299 Salem Street. Left Field Sports, which is on 24 Riverside Avenue. Imperial Sports Cards, 380 Main Street. John Pompeo and Sons Insurance on 466 High Street. Anthony's Liquors, 269 Spring Street.
How'd that get in there?
The Meadow Glen Mall, we will be at the Meadow Glen Mall actually March 20th, 27th, April 3rd, and April 10th from noon to 3 selling tickets. And at Johnny's Food Master on March 27th, I believe, and April the 10th. And if I'm correct here, I think those are the dates. Yes, March 27th and April 10th, also at Johnny's Food Master in addition to the Meadow Glen Mall from noon to 3. And then they can also be purchased by calling Tom H. Convery at 396-2847.
Okay, slow down. Give that
Okay.
Tom Convery number again.
Tom H. Convery, 396-2847. Tom E. Convery, 396-8129. And also at the N.A.P.S headquarters by calling me at 395-4255.
And if they can't remember the N.A.P.S telephone numbers in the book, the phone book, so
Yes, we're
it's not
listed
a
under
problem.
both the acronym and the full name.
Okay. The conference that you have coming up. In the past, when you had them, you had mentioned the 4 or 5 places.
Yeah.
They've been growing more successful every time. And these doctors, I mean, you were telling me earlier that not only do you put their name on your books, on your printing, and you have a nice newsletter, but they're also using your name in their critique.
Yes, in their curriculum vitae.
Curriculum vitae.
Yeah.
Well, I think that there was a hesitancy at first because it was such a small organization. It would be, who is this Mrs. Anastas and what is she up to? And then once it began, it snowballed and grew and also performed. Andrea has accomplished what she set out to do, and that's the most important thing. These conferences aren't run in anything less than a first-class fashion, and that's something that professionals adhere to. And I mean that from an academic point of view also. It's not just the social environment. The ideas and the concepts that are discussed are on the cutting edge of research in this area, and that's why you see physicians coming from all over the world to attend this conference in Atlanta.
You have all of these people coming together, just something that you started because of Adam some 5 years ago. You have to really feel fulfilled.
I feel somewhat fulfilled. I'm not fulfilled yet because there's still a long way to go.
Well, all right, then let me interject. You have been so successful in this aspect that now other organizations who are floundering are coming to you
Yes.
to join you. I mean, where do you find the time? And what are the organizations?
Well, the first one, and I'm sure that there'll be more to follow, is the American Hirschsprung's Disease Association, which actually was founded a few years before N.A.P.S, probably 5 years. I think it was 1983.
Approximately, yeah.
And they've watched us over the past several years, and we've had a wonderful working relationship and real good rapport with one another. They've attended our conferences, we've communicated, we've referred patients back and forth. And Hirschsprung's disease is within the same category or within the same realm of intestinal pseudoobstruction. It's where babies or children lack ganglion cells in the intestine, and that's something that's diagnosed, though, a little bit easier than intestinal pseudo-obstruction, and there's probably 850 to 1,000 children diagnosed per year. Some do very well after they have their surgery and the therapy that's, applied, and others go on to have more difficulty, and in some cases they diagnose them as a pseudo-Hirschsprung, pseudo-obstruction and Hirschsprung's disease. And they came to us and asked if we would be willing to allow them to merge in with us.
Mark was saying earlier that Andrea is not a nurse or a doctor, but with her background in education, she could probably take the test and get a doctorate. Mark, I have to agree with you.
Well, frankly, when she sits down at the conference with the doctors and discusses these issues, she doesn't miss a beat on any concept. And she participates in the discussions with them very freely and very openly, and they invite her ideas. And along the lines of the organizations that we've merged with, the people in Hirschsprung's, the Hirschsprung's Disease Association, that's been run by parents also, and they were looking for an organization that had a successful track record to pick up what they had already begun, which was a very successful organization, but a bit smaller than N.A.P.S. And so we've met with them now for about 10 months or so, and we're in the process of finalizing a merger with that organization so that we will undertake all of the duties that they have in the past with Hirschsprung's. And so the membership now of this new organization will be very, very high.
You're organized in Medford. Do you have any affiliation with the universities or the hospitals, with Tufts or Lawrence Memorial?
We have affiliations not with local hospitals, but with some of the Boston hospitals. Children's Hospital in Boston has become more involved with this organization and is looking into things and recognizing this illness, and we seem to have a very good relationship with many of the physicians there. One of the physicians on the professional advisory board is from Tufts New England Medical Center and is the chief of pediatric gastroenterology and will be very instrumental with regards to the professional advisory board and is held in very high regard. So I think that it's happening because it was not like that several years ago, and now we're finding that more hospitals are coming to us and willing to work together.
I've watched you work over the past year, putting these conferences together in particular, and I'm amazed that you can accommodate so many doctors worldwide in one specific place and fit into their schedule at the same time. I mean, it must be a tremendous
It's a lot of work. It really is, because physicians have so many things to cover. They're attending a lot of meetings, they have their patient load, there's so many things that go on, and you have to time it just right. And sometimes, even with this conference, we're still juggling some schedules, and even though the brochure was printed, we still had to readjust and switch them from one time to another or one day to another.
And then if you went to this conference, if you'd go it, you'd say, well, she must have had a staff of 10 or 12 working on this for 10 months, but what people don't understand is that it's Andrea herself who was there doing all of the work to put this together, and her family members helping her. It is a family effort. Just last Sunday night, for example, she was there with her mother at the office till very, very late putting this all together. And if you saw the finished product, you'd say, this must have been the result of the work of 10 or 12 persons, and it's all off her shoulders.
Mark was one of your guest speakers last year or the year before.
Yes.
I saw the tape, and as a matter of fact, perhaps you could give us a copy of that tape and we could play it here at Medford Community Cablevision. Are you going to be a guest speaker again?
I'm going to deliver a lecture in a workshop dealing with the legal rights of children in general, in particular medically fragile children, and I enjoy this very much. I have a little bit more time this year. Last year I spoke for about a half an hour on one given lecture. This year I'll have 75 minutes to fill twice. So it'll be a little bit more lengthy, but I'm looking forward to it.
I wonder, in fact, I'd like to ask you now, could we get a copy of that tape? And
Sure. Absolutely.
We can play it here at Medford Community Cablevision.
Yeah.
We have, we also have a promo tape coming up of the, oh yeah, there's Adam.
Oh, there's
now.
Adam and Chris Robichaud, and that's a wonderful picture. That was a picture that appeared in the Medford transcript last week with an article about N.A.P.S. and the sports raffle and how we were seeking funds for a cure. And that little boy that you see, at least to my left, and Adam is the one with the Miami Dolphins shirt. The week before Christmas, actually, when I was opening up my mail, I was very, very touched because I received a handwritten letter by Christopher Robichaud, who is a classmate of Adam's, with $6, and the note asking for N.A.P.S to find a cure for his friend Adam. And it's really very touching. And so we have the two of them together in the article. And actually, Christopher was the one, the first person actually to receive a book of raffle tickets.
Is this the article here?
This is the article here, yes. Yeah.
Hold this one up.
I don't know if you can see it. It's the same picture that's in the, if you can see it.
Yes, that's a
N.A.P.S
good
raffle.
shot.
I don't know which way I'm going.
you have it.
Yeah. But it's a wonderful article, and Mike Smith from the transcript did a superb job. And you know, Christopher is right. We want to find a cure for these children, and I'm hoping that the raffle will truly be a success so that we can put the funds towards research.
Okay, we have a promo tape on the raffle. If we can get that up, show the people just what it is they can win. And tickets are how much again, Andrea?
Tickets are $1 each, or $6 for $5. They are tax deductible, and if I could make one comment,
Sure.
What I'm finding is that many people, if they have no use for sports items or raffle items, what they're doing is they're purchasing the tickets, and they're allowing, like Tom Convery, for instance, is going to the various schools in Medford and allowing children who are not as financially well off
That's a
or
great idea.
are underprivileged to fill those raffle tickets out and allow those children to have a chance of winning one of the items.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Can we roll that promo tape?
Hi everyone, I'm Fran Giordano, and you know me as the sportscaster for Medford Square TV Sports, or you probably see me down at the Imperial Sports Cards at the corner of Harvard and Main Street. Well, as we all know, the Super Bowl champions are the Dallas Cowboys. And the Dallas Cowboys, the best team on the field. But now we're going to give you an opportunity to be the best team off of the field. And how can you do that? Well, the North American Pediatric Pseudo-Obstruction Society, commonly known as N.A.P.S, is having their annual fundraiser drive, and they're holding a giant sports memorabilia raffle. And for only $1 a ticket, or 6 tickets for $5, you can have yourself a chance at some outstanding sports paraphernalia. And these are items that can't be bought or found in common places. These things, some of them are priceless, and they have a list such as things of Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, and Kevin McHale autographed pictures. They have a Larry Bird autographed ball, a Chris Nyland jersey, autographed sticks, autographed pucks. The list goes on and on. There's over 60 items already, and it's growing each day. But the important thing is this money is used for research. The people all involved are all volunteers. And this money is strictly used for research. It's for a good cause. And we're asking everyone, you can purchase the tickets at the Imperial Sports Cards, at Anthony Sports Collection, and the Left Field Collectibles. They're all sports card shops in Medford, and it gives you a chance to do something good. And again, they're only $1 each, and they are 6 for $5. You know, those of us who are sitting home that have fine, healthy, beautiful children, you know, let's thank God. But there are kids that are out there that are needy, and it's up to us to help them out. So for only, again, $1, 6 chances for $5, and you can purchase them at the Imperial Sports Cards, Anthony Sports Collection, and the Left Field Collectibles. It's a great opportunity to help everybody out. They will be broadcasting live on April 12th from 7 to 8 p.m., and it gives you a chance to sit at home and see if you're one of the lucky winners. So until then, we're wishing everyone good luck. Go out there, buy your chances. It's for a great cause, and we'll see you then.
Thank you, Fran. Hi, I'm Vinny Cincotti, owner of Left Field Sports Cards, and I'm here on behalf of N.A.P.S and Left Field Sports Cards to give you some further insight on some of these great collectibles. For instance, we have some 64 Topps Commons, very hard to find in any condition. We have a Chris Nyland autographed jersey. We have some World Series programs, some All-Star programs. We have an Andy Moog autographed goalie stick, very, very hard to come across. We also have many other items, autographed pucks, as Franny said before. These tickets are only $1 each and 6 for $5. We'll be broadcasting this live April 12th from the studio here. I will be here, Franny will be here, and Anthony will be here pulling some tickets. I already bought 25, and I am planning on buying some more because this is going for a great cause. You can buy tickets at my store, Left Field Sports Cards, in the heart of the new Medford Square, Anthony Sports Collection on Salem Street, and Imperial Sports Cards on the corner of Harvard and Main Street. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Tom Convery, and I'd like to just thank Fran and Vin. Now I'm with Anthony from Anthony Sports Collectibles, which is down on Salem Street next to Hungry Herbs. Anthony, what do you think of the collection we got here tonight?
This is unbelievable. You got so much stuff here. It's very hard to find pieces, too. It's incredible.
Now, didn't you recently just sell a Larry Bird ball?
Yes, the one we're going to be raffling off is Larry Bird ball. It's kind of special, too, because it's got his full name. Usually it just says L. Bird, but he spelled his name out here, which makes it a little more money. So it's a great item for $1, or, you know, buying 6 raffles for $5.
That's nice. Like the gentleman said before us, 6 tickets for $5 or 1 each. All the money's tax deductible, and Vinny's already bought 25 himself. I know Anthony's already sold 50 in his store in 2 days. Anthony, what do you think about the hockey sticks? I know you recently got rid of sold a Cam Neely stick.
Well, it was 3 autographs on it. It was Cam Neely, Ray Bourque, and Bobby Orr, which went recently. The hockey sticks are very hard to get right now, you know, autograph, but
I see we got Moog, and there's Rajishka, and Reggie Lemelin, and then we got Nyland's jersey from when he was with the Rangers, number 30. And we also have a matted photo of when Hagler won the middleweight championship at Boston Garden, which, as we all know, goes back a while. They haven't had too many championship fights at the Garden lately. And do you see many 64 baseball cards in that condition?
never see them in that condition. It's very rare. If you got a chance, buy a raffle, because if you get something like that, it's good to keep.
We'd like to see all of you buy a chance or two if you get a chance. And somebody like Anthony, I know he's purchasing tickets himself because he feels very lucky. He had a very fortunate thing happen to him recently.
Oh, yeah. The birth of my daughter, Alana Marie, she was 3 weeks late, but she finally got here. And thank God she's very healthy. That's why I'm here tonight, because it's a great cause. I just hope everybody comes down the 3 stores and buy tickets.
And folks, we are having the drawing April 12th from 7 to 8 right here, and all 3 gentlemen will be with me doing the drawing. You can also get tickets at Pompeo Insurance in West Medford Square. Thank you, and good luck.
Hi, this is John Pompeo down at Pompeo & Sons Insurance, and we're proud to be sponsors of the North American Pediatric Pseudo-Obstruction Society. We're here selling tickets for the raffle coming up, and you can buy your tickets right here at Pompeo & Sons. We're at 464 High Street in Medford, phone number 391-1630. There are some very priceless items here at this raffle. One, we have a George Steinbrenner autographed picture. Now, the boss just came back to baseball after a hiatus, and this is a very, very valuable item. We also have a Larry Bird autographed basketball. We have a Chris Nyland shirt from the Rangers. We've got several hockey sticks that are signed by the Bruins and other hockey stars. And the baseball cards listed are just too numerous to mention.
Priceless items. Go.
This is a very worthwhile raffle being held on April 12, 1993. The raffle will be held live on Medford Cablevision from 7 to 8 p.m. Once again, you can pick up your tickets right down here at Pompeo & Sons in West Medford Square. The tickets are only $1 a piece and 6 for $5. Please come down and buy them. It's for a very worthwhile cause. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome back once again. Andrea, that's a lot of nice choices.
It really is.
Now, I have a
They work very
question.
hard.
Do you get a choice? I mean,
No.
No.
The way there's numbers or tags on all of the various items, and it will just be ticket being pulled, matched with an item. And so it's very fair, and just ticket, item, ticket,
well, if
item.
I win the first drawing, can I choose Kyle Yastrzemski, or is that? Or is
No.
that
Nope. Whatever the item is that's pulled,
I have
that's
to
the
buy
one.
enough tickets to win all of them.
But there, as you can see, there are really some nice things.
There are
there.
some great
Yeah.
things. There's the big 3 that
Yes.
Dick Kaczynski would like to win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kyle
Autograph.
Yastrzemski.
Yep.
Larry Bird
Marvin
basketball.
Hagler, did you
Marvin
have?
Hagler, there's a picture, a picture actually of a photograph of Marvin Hagler at the Boston Gardens many years ago. That's worth something. There's a signed autograph Phyllis Esposito photograph also. There's really so many nice things.
I neglected to mention that you can talk to Andrea or Mark yourself right here if you wish. If you want to call 395-5993, we may have time to get 1 or 2 phone calls in. And if they can't, they can call you at the office tomorrow and talk about where they can buy the tickets. I know I bought a couple today. I think I'd like to buy a couple more. I didn't realize just how swell the prices were going to be. Mark, let's jump back to you just for a minute.
Sure.
I had mentioned earlier that your wife Susan has joined you on one of these conferences that I know of, and she's very proud of the work you do. But how does this affect your family life and your involvement with the parents of these children?
Well, what's occurred is that there's been, over the years, a greater need for me to become involved professionally, not so much with any one particular group of parents, but people have heard that there is some assistance that can be had. And so what's happened is I've had the opportunity to meet so many parents who have needs as far as legal needs with their children in their school systems. But the effect that it's had on me is that I've become very much aware of the specialness not only of the children, but of their parents. And I'm talking not only about medically fragile children, but also children with special needs, mental retardation and other forms of special need. The parents of all these children are very, very unique, very, very kind and very secure people. I said once at one of the fundraisers that there must be something about having a special child that increases the strength of a marriage or the bonds between parents, because they're just so calm about their lives and what they have to do. Some of them will readily admit that there are days where things aren't that calm, but they're very focused and they know what they want for their children. And so the effect that it's had on me is observing these parents has had, in a way, I'm a bit awestruck by what I see, because my life seems to be so much more ordered than theirs, and yet they go about their tasks without any whimper or without any crying. And that's the thing that I've been most impressed with.
I'm impressed also with the work that you do with your newsletter. Here's an excellent, I don't know if we have a shot of it, here's an excellent volume 4 page for winter 92. It must be about 40 or 50 pages. How often do you put this out?
Put it out quarterly, 4 times a year.
4 times a year?
4 times a year.
And what is it? What's in it? What's
Oh,
included?
God, there's life stories that the parents submit about their children. As you can see, there's one in there, and we
Is
have
an example of 4
family-
letters?
sent to, well, that's part of the Family Assistance Program, and then it says Family Assistance is a family affair. And those are letters that have been sent back to some of the corporate supporters of Family Assistance Program and also myself at N.A.P.S. But there's also medical information in there. There's the life stories. We feature In the Spotlight and Life's Inspirations about children that have made great accomplishments with this disorder. We do a bookshelf, a book review, and that goes in our bookshelf, a science corner. It just goes on and on and on.
It does.
Yeah.
You're describing it better than I ever could, and I have it right here in my hand. Who do you mail it out to? How many people do you mail it out to?
Well, it now goes out. That's what we were working on Sunday. And I would say about 1,500 of those went out this time around, and they'll be, it will just continue to increase.
So, how do you get on your mailing list?
People can request information. We don't keep people on a mailing list if they are not going to become members or if there's a financial hardship. Then we do that. Otherwise, the membership fees is what sustains those newsletters, the production of that newsletter.
I have 1,000 questions, but
Okay.
maybe we have a phone call
Okay,
also.
great.
Good evening. You're on Medford Community Cablevision's Front Page Live. You have a question for our guest?
Hello.
Yes.
Anthony.
Yes.
Tom Crosby, President of the South Street Business Association.
Mr. President, welcome to Medford Community Cablevision.
Hi, Tom.
I'd like to say that 50 of the 110 businesses on Salem Street presently have bought at least one book of tickets.
All
I
right.
think we're up around 200 books at this point.
Wonderful.
The only one giving us any competition in the other associations is John Pompeo in West Medford.
He's working hard.
So
We have heard nothing from South Medford or the hillside.
Well, we'll get Fran Giordano on the South Medford. And who do we have up in the hillside?
Frank Williams is up the hillside, but, we're asking each business in the city to buy just one book. That's all we ask.
How many businesses do we have in the city, Tom?
I really don't know. I'd say probably somewhere around 600-700.
That would be nice if you can get that done. Thank you. He's been your right arm in this.
Absolutely, but you know, his idea about, and I bring it up again, that if people have no use for the tickets, but would like to, you know, make that contribution and allow those tickets to be given to, again, underprivileged children that may have a chance
Sure.
at it, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing that he's done.
Well, when it comes to the Carl Yastrzemski picture, I'll be
You have to buy a lot of tickets.
I'll say,
Your
let's
name
try
will be
that
there a
out.
lot.
Okay, this quarterly that you mail out is inclusive, as I can see, almost anything that families or doctors or people with children that have that have the same symptoms or the same problem. It's very informative. You also have a pamphlet.
That's our informational brochure, our informational pamphlet, which describes basically the disorder support and information, our objectives, questions and answers, which is very helpful to just basically give an overview, and also the various methods that are sometimes necessary to manage these children nutritionally.
And you were telling me earlier, Andrea, what it cost you to put this pamphlet out.
That brochure and the text had already been developed for that from a previous brochure when we first started. So all the text was there. And to put that together and create that, the logo is there too in the front, as you see the adult with the child. But just to kind of set it up more graphically was $6,000. But that was a donation.
Also, Tony, about the quarterly newsletter, it's probably the only publication of its kind in the sense that it meshes together articles by children, parents, and doctors all in one newsletter. And that's part of the point of N.A.P.S, is that there is an inclusion of parents and children who are in the past maybe have been excluded by physicians as, out of their own treatment plan. So the N.A.P.S newsletter is the one place where all points come together at once, and that's what makes it so unique.
And I noticed that on your upcoming conference in Atlanta, Georgia, you printed this. This goes out to who?
There was 10,000 that went out.
10,000
of those brochures went out to all, all the membership, many allied healthcare professionals, being pediatric surgeons, pediatric gastroenterologists, nurses, nurse specialists, and on and on. And when 10,000 of those were distributed.
From an idea, and it was simply an idea 5 years ago in your kitchen, you never had the slightest concept it would turn out this big.
Not this big. I mean, I was bound and determined, but I never thought it would reach this point, especially as quickly as it has.
And Mark, you find the same energy with other parents?
Actually, I don't necessarily see the same energy that Andrea displays, that's for sure. But what I do find is that there is a unique quality to parents of children who have special needs or who are medically fragile. Perhaps it's God-given, but I see a special quality to these parents, and that's very, very impressive.
You've combined with other organizations to the benefit of both, obviously. What's next for N.A.P.S?
Oh, many things are next for N.A.P.S. We have to get through the sports raffle, which we hope will generate funds for research.
If
but
you
then
have Tom Convery selling tickets for your sports raffle,
we'll be all
it's going to
set.
be
It will
successful, I'll tell you.
Thank goodness he's there for us. And then in October, as soon as I get back, I think I'll take a little bit of a hiatus, but October 16th is our gala fundraiser, which will be held at the Boston Marriott Long Wharf Hotel once again. It'll be a dinner dance event with silent auction, and the tickets will be anywhere from $75 to $100 per person. We've also already secured a guest speaker for that evening. Mark will once again be our master of ceremonies, and has always willingly done that for us. And physicians basically will be coming in from all over, as well as parents and friends, because one of the doctors, Dr. Flores here in Boston, is planning to do like a mini symposium the night before to, again, support more education for the doctors that couldn't make it out to Atlanta.
Well, who's going to be your guest speaker here in Boston?
Her name is Fran Langer, and she's a pediatric nurse as well as a mom, and her husband is a pediatric surgeon who we funded some of his research a few years ago, and we didn't know anything about her. But she recently published a book, and the title of it is, If This Is a Test, Have I Passed Yet? The Struggle to Cope with Inflammatory Bowel Disease. And even though it's inflammatory bowel disease, there really is that common bond. And the book is so outstanding that I said, I want her to come as a guest speaker and be able to address our audience because she is the person to do it. So she's agreed, from St. Louis, Missouri.
Good town.
Yeah. And then our next event after that is a meeting with one of the physicians from London, England, who's our faculty, one of our faculty for the symposium in Atlanta. And we're going to talk about putting a symposium on in London, England next year with the cooperative effort of Creighton University School of Medicine in Nebraska as well as N.A.P.S.
Mark, let me pose this question to you.
Sure.
You've seen the progression in the last 5 years for N.A.P.S. What do you see in the next 10 years in its future?
Well, at the rate of its growth, I'm really not sure where it's going to be in 10 years. I know that all of the parents, and Andrea first among them, is hoping for cures. And that, of course, is all of our wishes and prayer. On the other hand, as far as the business and legal aspect of it all goes, I see nothing but continued growth. I think that the membership list will grow. I think that physician involvement will surpass what it is presently. That's very clear. And I also think that the despair and loneliness that many parents feel out there who are unsure right now about their children's treatment or diagnosis will also be lifted, and that will be the measure of success of N.A.P.S. as in 10 years from now as it is now.
Whatever you see for N.A.P.S. in the next 10 years, I'm sure it includes Mark Rumley.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I only came up for a cup of coffee.
Well, and then we just kind of trapped him in there. But he's not going anywhere.
Well, she still gives you the coffee.
Yeah, still.
Throws in a coffee roll every now and
That's
then.
every now and then. Also, when we're talking about the fundraisers, I think it's important to mention the Marriott organization. When N.A.P.S. was very, very small, when N.A.P.S. essentially existed of the money that Andrea or Neil put up out of their own pocket, the Marriott organization treated N.A.P.S. with the same respect that they do now, even though it's much, much greater. And that showed us that it's a class organization, and we've enjoyed working with them on every fundraiser that we've had straight through. I've been very impressed by that. It's a very good organization.
There have been some things in the past that have put Medford on the map internationally, and now you have joined them with good company, Tufts University, among other things. Joe Valeriani could give you a history list of Medford. I'm very proud of what you've been doing for the city of Medford and for yourself and for the children. We're going to wrap up. Is there anything you want to conclude with, Andrea?
I think we basically covered it all, and I just hope that we continue to go in the direction that we're going in.
I would like to, you're one of the most interesting topics we've had, and interesting guests. I'd like to invite you both back, perhaps after the conference. What I would want to do is reiterate, Mark, that I'd like to have the tapes of the speeches that you've given at the past conference, and maybe this one coming up, because I think we'd like to play it here at Medford Community Cablevision.
Oh, that's fine.
People.
Wonderful.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I agree.
So that's what we'll be doing. We want to thank you for joining us. Once again, if you have any telephone calls or any questions for Andrea, you can call her at N.A.P.S. organization. If you give,
The number?
yes,
395-4255.
and it's in the phone book if you didn't have time to jot it down. So thank you both, and thank you for watching us, and I hope you'll continue to watch this organization grow, and maybe support it even by buying those tickets at Pompeo and Sons, or the Left Field, or the Anthony's card shop.
They're going fast, so you better get in line.
Well, I think you have some great gifts.
Yeah, they really
Yeah.
are.
Thank you once again. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.